Okay, so brief intro, our weekly market outlook for the week, and then we'll start off by looking at the USD, the Euro USD. Okay, so on Friday in our technical series class, we discussed divergence, and when we looked at this, we spotted something here. Now, divergence is more or less, it kind of describes it's discrepancy between price and momentum. So when price is doing something and momentum is doing the opposite, so you can see there is a discrepancy between both. That's what divergence basically is. Now, we're able to spot a divergence in we're able to spot market divergence in this pair. So if we go to indicators and we add momentum oscillator, which I like to use, and also I would also add the RSI indicator as well. So this is just for us to more or less spot divergence. Now, when looking for divergence, at least I like to look for it on a 4-hour chart and above. This is daily chart, so it's good enough. Now, notice what we can see here. Price is making lower lows, right? So you can see this, right? Price making lower lows, and so we have the price making lower lows. However, you could see that, and then market's also oversold, right? So prices oversold, making lower lows, and we are having more or less a divergence in momentum. So momentum is showing that we're making higher lows in price. So this in itself does not say start buying. What it means is that we're most likely looking at a possible change in, at least not necessarily, it doesn't necessarily mean that we're going to now have a new full-blown reversal. What it means is that we could see a potential, push to the upside. Now, it might just be a push that then continues lower, but if we're able to identify it, we might be able to capitalize on that push, right? Now, so that in itself is one very key one I want to pay attention to. Now, so when it comes to trading divergence, I also want to be able to wait for confirmation, most likely in the form of trend line or counter trend line break, right? So now if we watch this, if you see this is the trend line that I'm keeping in mind. You can go down to the 4-hour chart as such. This is the cleanest trend line for this particular stuff. You might want to use the body of the candle, but this will be your forcing it. I don't like to force trades, right? So this will be the one I want to keep. You can see that price is ranging. The market aggressively pushed down, and now we seem to be accumulating or redistributing depending on what eventually plays out. But you could see that we are ranging within this region here, and most usually what happens after, when the market range, it wants to break out, it's likely going to break out one way or it's going to break out the other. That is what usually happens in a range. So what is happening here is accumulation or distribution. So smart money are getting in and out of positions to kind of liquidate weak hands, right? Now, so I don't want to, any trade that I might look to get in here will be very low risk trade, but the main confirmation will be, I want to see price break above this trend line to serve as confirmation for not just the fact that we're ranging and that to serve as sign of strength, we look back to break it, but also the fact that we already divergent in price and a break above here will serve as confirmation. So I would be looking out at this trend line for a break above it. Now, a break above it for me would be at least a 4-hour candle close. So a 1-hour candle close above here is not enough. I want to see at least a 4-hour candle close above, and preferably a daily candle close above to then start looking for buying opportunities, right? You can look to participate in short-term swings, because you can see if you're looking for short-term scalps, obviously keep your stop loss tight, not necessarily tight, keep your risk tight. We are ranging here. We haven't decided on where we're breaking yet, but so far it seems that we're making higher highs, right? So as long as we don't take out this low, we most likely will take out this high, right? So if you want to get in early, well, that's the thing. If you want to wait for stronger confirmation, a break above this trend line will serve as that confirmation for you, okay? So that will be my outlook on EU. The next pair we're going to look at now is UJ. So I'm going to look at USD JPY. So USD JPY trades. So let's go up to the daily chart here. So USDJPY has been stretched just like the DXY overstretched to the upside. And I mentioned in a market like this, why most people might be looking for opportunities to sell, it's most likely want to still keep going higher. So for last week, I was looking for, so if you can see my chart, you could see my chart there. I was looking for opportunity to get in on a buy right here, but the market did not come down here. I was looking to buy from here and take profit around here. That did not play out. Instead, the market has continued to go up. So now where we are sitting is just, we're sitting at the highs just above here. So let me clear, I'm going to clear this one because it didn't play out and this one is no longer valid. Okay, so let me make this. Now, with where we are sitting here, we haven't broken above. We are just, we haven't displaced price. You can see price is failing to close above this area. So right now, one of the things I probably would like to see is I want to see how today's candle ends up, right? So if today's candle ends up, let's say, closing above this, area, then price could maybe shift up a little bit, and then we could see the market fall back into this zone. So that would be kind of like what I'll be looking out for. If price were to close above this level, a daily close above it, even a 4-hour close might suffice. The daily close above its best, we could see the market move up a little bit, and then I could look to maybe participate on the sell to come down into this area to then look for the buy to go up, right? On the other hand, if price fails to, if price fails to, see where we are now, right? Let's drop down to the 15-minute chart here. You can't even have something like this where you start looking at this sort of move like this and wait for a break, although this will be very aggressive. But a break, if price fails to close above this high and then ends up closing below here, we could get a rebound to then come back here, right? I'll probably be paying attention to this one because that could offer, short-term scalp opportunity for me. If it close, maybe a retest, and risk will be low. My risk will be somewhere like this. So you could see my risk will be low, and then my targets would be down here. At least my first target, I could look for some lower targets depending on how the market reacts. So that will be what I'll be watching on UJ. The dollar is actually very strong. Because of all the whole tension within Euro, the dollar is serving as a safe haven basket, the COVID outbreak again in China. So a lot of things are favoring the dollar in itself. And so we're seeing that dollar strength. And then, however, the NFP report on Friday didn't really do much, but it was good and bad at the same time for the USD. Okay, so AUDJPY, I think that's also another one I like the look of it. AUDJPY. So AUDJPY. So let's see now. On the daily chart, I always like to, so let me just zoom out a little bit, look at the weekly charts and see where we are in time. So we're clearly in a bullish market. We've broken structure to the upside. We are overstretched. That doesn't really mean much. Let's look at the daily chart itself. And then on the daily chart, you could see that we had a break of structure lower, and then all this push back here might just be retracement to go lower. So basically, now looking at this from this standpoint, I was looking for opportunity to buy, and that is still valid, but we might actually break lower. Now, you could see, so this would be our break of structure here. That'll be our break of structure here on the bigger time frame. You can see price has been making higher highs and higher lows, and then since making this low, price proceeded to make this high, and that price took out that low. So that's a more or less break of structure. So that what that probably means is a retracement into this zone. I was looking to see this come up to here. That's actually where I'm interested in really selling from. I want to see price get up here, look for sell to then take this down. However, the market doesn't need to respect me. It doesn't respect anybody. So the market will do what it wants to do. The market is ready to start going down. And if it takes out this low, then it's most likely going to take out this low, right? So now let's look at the potential outlook. So I dropped this one on the Telegram channel. I don't know if any of you guys have seen it. I dropped this one on the Telegram channel this morning. I'm looking for this move here, right? So now you can see this wipe up accumulation here. We then proceeded to break higher, showed our sign of strength. We also broke this inner time frame structure to the upside. So we have displaced price to the upside. And then as long as the market does not take out this low, that means as long as price does not close below this low here, we have a very, very strong possibility of taking out, or at least coming back to this high. So that is the reason I still have this play on my card here. So this is our protected low, and this is our liquidity targets. And now, since making this push higher, I'm looking for the higher low move to then go higher. Now, but I need confirmation. If you know me, you know I always like to trade with confirmation, because I know that I will be wrong, and I don't want to just throw money on the table. Okay. Now, a confirmation, you can see I highlighted it here. You can see how this trend line has served, as resistance, holding price 1, 2, 3 touches. That means we need to, if we find a way to break above this trend line, it would expose all of this liquidity highs, right? So that's kind of like the way the market works. If the markets were to find a way to break above this side and putting new highs, it will start exposing these highs, and potentially these highs to probably take price even higher if the market wants to go up. Now, while I don't want to jump in and start buying, I want confirmation, because you can see that this is clearly a bearish market. So you got lower lows, lower highs, lower lows, lower highs, lower lows, lower highs, lower lows, lower highs, lower lows, right? So basically, if not for the fact that we have we're looking at something else, the only thing we should be looking for here is for opportunities to sell this and take this down, right? So, I want to see the reaction to this trend line. If we get to this trend line and we break it, then it would expose all of this liquidity highs. Okay, so I would be paying attention to this one. I'd also be, I'll try to also inform you guys in the Telegram channel once it is, let's say we're having a break, and if I'm looking to get into the trade, I would also let you know as well. Now, the markets may decide to range and then break out. While that could also suffice, so what I would like to see, right, is the market breaks out, and then, I could start looking to buy and run these highs. However, what if the market could also decide to just range here until it fades out of this trend line? In that case, if we fade out of the trend line that way, I would be a little bit cautious, because I would want to see a very good break, not a fade out. But if we do fade out in such a way the market ranges, and then there's no more room to move and it decides to, break out, I would want to see the market make start putting in higher highs and higher lows, at least on the lower time frame, and then I could look to buy, keep my stop loss tight, and then target these highs. Okay, so that will be that on AUDJPY. Now AUDCHF. So AUDCHF was a very nice trade, at least for me. So AUDJPY, AUDCHF. You'd see this, right? So I think I talked about this some few weeks ago, where we had, at least, okay, I think that was in the cutting edge, in my trading room, cutting edge trading class, where we had this more or less ranging market here, and then we broke structure here. You could see that price was making higher highs and higher lows. So price has been making higher highs, higher lows, higher highs, higher lows. Then it failed to make a higher high. And what did it do as a result of that? It then proceeded to break structure and put in a lower low, right? So since making this low here, I only started looking for opportunities to sell. So I highlighted this area here as an area I'm interested in selling from. So even while price was trading up, and the moment you got into here, I got in on some sales, very nice sell positions that are currently running. So this trade I think I have very nice trades here. I'll be looking to take, I think I've taken first partial. I'll be looking to take another partial down here as well. However, since we already have a bias, an outlook to trade, that means we're looking to potentially, market is most likely going to want to run this low. That's very likely what's most likely what the market wants to do. So all of this area within here, all I'll be looking for is selling opportunities, right? Now, if we drop down into the 1 hour chart here, you would see the inner structure that I mentioned. Now, notice that before coming to this red highlighted area here, you can see how price was making higher highs, higher lows, higher highs, higher lows, higher highs, higher lows, higher highs. And then since getting here, see what happened, the market ranged. And what did I talk about range? When the market range usually wants to break out one way or the other. So when the market range, I think I got in on myself somewhere like here, my stop loss was above here and my target was, way down there. Now, notice what has happened since the market got to this area here. You could see from making higher highs and higher lows, started making lower lows, lower highs, lower lows, lower highs, lower lows. Now, with this new lower low, I am looking at, that's why you can see my highlighted area here. I'm looking to see if we can get into this zone to then go lower. So that would be the trade I'm looking out for, at least for today and for the week, especially because we have this gap.
Which time frame is this?
This is the 1 hour chart.
Okay, sorry. Okay, great. Okay.
Especially because we have this, there's a gap, there's a, gap here, not imbalance in itself. It just means the market gapped down from the week. Usually the market likes to fill those gaps, right? So we might see this trade back up into this area, and then I'll be looking to sell this back down, right? Now, obviously, if I'm looking to sell this back down, I'll be targeting this liquidity here, while also targeting the higher time frame structure that I was looking to sell to, okay? So, however, the market doesn't have to do anything. If it breaks, so this is our low, this is our high up here. The market breaks this low here, I'll start looking for a pullback into this zone, something like this, to then sell lower, okay? Well, what the basic idea is right now, for this pair, I'm looking for selling opportunities, right? And right from current area here, I'd like to see price trade back up to this area and then look to sell this down, okay? That's on AUDCHF. Would also, I think there's also another instrument I wanted to discuss. Was the AUD card? No, I think I got the AUD card. Let's look at gold. Okay, so the charts. Okay, so gold was, anyway, let's see, zoom out a little bit. Okay, so I had this trend line, okay, yeah. I talked about this a while. I don't know if you guys would remember. We were in this area, I was looking that we could push back up to one of these regions to sell from, and, surprise, surprise, the market went up to exactly one of the places we were looking at and sold off. From now, I did not participate in this trade. I did not get in on this sell. I wasn't selling here because I'm not a very big fan of gold. But when I trade it, or when I want to trade gold, I like to sell at extreme highs or buy at extreme lows. I like the confirmation to be extremely strong. However, the market did play out as expected. I drew this trend line for weeks now. You could see how the market, this was, how this was a bounce from here. We had another bounce here. We also had another bounce here. So now, right now, what are we doing? We are approaching that trend line here. Now, areas like these are critical areas. Now, there's no guarantee as to what will happen, but here's what I can guarantee is that something will happen, right? If price taps into this trend line, we are going to see something happen. Now, something could be in the form of the market will respect it and bounce off, or that we break below it, and if we do, it will expose all these lows down here, right? So it's a very, we're in a very, key spot. You can see, for those of you who understand order block, we're probably sitting in an order block, we're approaching that area there, which would more or less be a confluence of level, right? So if price were to drop into this level here, maybe today, maybe tomorrow, maybe next, right? If it taps into this zone, you can expect some sort of reaction. Now, the reaction would be, you want to wait for confirmation, right? At least that's the way I usually advise to trade. So you want to either see the market clearly start rejecting it before you can start looking to buy, right? Or you want to see the market break below it and then start showing signs of weakness before you look to sales. However, here's the thing: if we respect this area, if this level holds, right, this area is in trouble, right? So if this area were to hold, if this trend line were to hold price, long term, it would expose this high. It will also expose this high. On the other hand, if this area or this trend line fails to hold and it breaks, a retest of this would expose this low, this low, this low, and more especially this low, right? So you can see how this is. There's lots of liquidity down here, right? There's lots of liquidity down here that the market might want to run. So there's also liquidity to the upside. If I had a crystal ball and I could tell where the market would move, well, I'll tell you. I don't have a crystal ball. We have to trade what the price is how the price is delivering to us. So I wouldn't want to be buying or selling this where it is now because, well, it's in no man's land. So a test of this trend line would be what I'll be looking out for and see how the market reacts around this area. And then if we have a bounce, I'll look to buy. And then if we have a break, well, then I will be looking to sell because it would expose more lower prices. Now, here's another thing to keep in mind. So if I go back to the DXY here, which is the dollar index, you can see we are stretched, really stretched, but we could potentially pull back down. So let me look at the weekly chart here as well. You could see like it's been one straight move. Let me pull this. Let me pull this here. So you can see where we are currently resting, right? You can see this is a very strong weekly level, right? If the market breaks above it, right, that means a stronger dollar. Then the gold could drop massively, right? So if the market breaks above this, we could see very strong drop in gold. However, if the market fails to break above this and this area start holding as resistance and we start seeing a break below series of levels like this, then it will favor a bullish gold, right? So basically you want to keep those two in mind. We're sitting at a critical level in price, at least for the dollar. You also want to pay attention to the fundamentals. You want to keep in mind the outcome of this CPI report on Wednesday and the core CPI, so the consumer price index. There's also going to be the FOMC speech by Wale and also Mester. And also we also have the PPI on Thursday. So lots of, as a matter of fact, all of the major news for the week are actually almost 90% from the USD. So I would see how they come out and we'll see how the market reacts to them. But they would give us a clue as to what we should be looking out for. Now back to our XAU USD. Did I spell that correctly? XAU USD. Okay, so like I mentioned, we're looking at that trend line. You see the trend line on the daily chart here. I want to see how the market reacts to it. So I'm just going to clear up all of this. So I can have a cleaner chart, probably have this drawn out as well for future purpose. Okay, so more or less a wedge pattern and a break one way. So this is also another thing to keep in mind. We might come into here if we find bullish rejection, we could look to buy. If you're buying, you want to be taking profits or at least protecting yourself if price starts coming to this trend line because it could serve as resistance, and then that could then serve as. So one way or the other, we're going to see some movement. We are falling into this sort of wedge pattern here. We are closer to the support. And then if price were to drop into this area, look for reaction. If we get a bounce, look to buy. If we get a break, look to sell. If we get a bounce and you look to buy, look to take profit, at least protect yourself around this area. If we break above, it would expose this area and this area. However, if we fail to break and we come back here, we could break out either way. If we break out to the upside, fine. If we break out to the downside, fine as well. But either way, these two trend lines are key as to where gold moves in the next coming few weeks or months even. Okay. Now I'll just take a few of your questions. Anybody want me to look at any particular instruments before we call it a day? Okay. Well, so far, I hope we enjoyed the class and we were able to get it, as to what we should be looking out for the week.
Yes.
Okay. So I will be discussing a lot more on most of the currency pairs in our cutting edge class tomorrow and next tomorrow as well. And also, I think this week I will also be having a third part of the robust creation class as well. So feel free to join me in those classes as long as you are in the group. Okay. So anybody wants to look at any particular instruments before we call it a day? Let me just quickly look at USD. Okay, that's played out nice. Now Bitcoin is, what is this one doing? Now this is becoming a very, it's most likely, it's looking like a bearish drag. That is what it's looking like. So we had this break. I expected follow-up from this breakout. We did get follow-up, but not strong enough. And I was looking at this and thinking we would stay above this area. As you can see, price has crushed, it has crashed below it. So right now there's more potential to the downside than there is to the upside. I know that we are sitting at, this level here, and that could serve as support. But who knows, it may or may not hold. We'll see how today's candle closes. Also, another thing I need to point out also is the fact that, the fact that the dollar is stronger is also something that supports that's also supporting the fact that we're having a weakened, what do you call it? A weakened BTC or crypto. Cryptos or stocks. Like for example, if we look at the, let's see, if we look at the, let me just look at this. Look at the S&P. Okay, if we look at the S&P 500 here, you'll also see the drop in the S&P $20 in the S&P 500. So we're in a risk of investors. The risk appetite is lower, and people are more likely are looking to protect funds in what I call it safe haven baskets. Right. The only what I call it downside, not necessarily downside, the only discrepancy here is that the gold is also not doing well. So, we're sitting in the midst of uncertainty, lots of uncertainty in the global economy, and it's affecting most things. So the S&P 500, I think the NASDAQ as well. You could see everything is on the drop. Then, the Fangman, which is, let's see. I think it's Amazon. You see, everything is kind of like on the drop. All sectors risk off, right? Tech sectors, which is usually outperforming, you could see, has been on a very strong bearish move. Let's see Tesla. Tesla as well, right? So we're in the risk off moments, mostly, Putin and his gangs, they've set off this, so that the UK is unsettled, the euro is unsettled, China is struggling with another COVID again, and then we're having all of this play out. So the dollar is, even though it might look like the dollar is ripe for a rebound, a retracement, all of these economic facts may not allow it to that, right? But usually with things like this, the markets might just stay irrational, long enough, we might be looking at this and saying, there's no way this thing can go up any further, right? So we might be looking at this and thinking, this market is overstretched. There's no way it goes up further. And yeah, we might be correct with saying it's overstretched. The market could still keep stretching. But what we do know is when it does decide to break, the fall will be heavy, right? But it doesn't have to break where you think it will do, especially with all of the things happening. So even though we are expecting, this is why I love to trade with confirmation. At least it can give me a reason behind, the logic behind why I'm looking to treat what I'm trading. And then it can then, at least to help me protect my trades with a very, I have a reason for protecting my trade where I think I should protect it with stop losses and all. But right now, I don't just want to get in on a trade. I want confirmation. And so I want to see the dollar weakens, whether it's on the DXY, whether it's Euro USD, whether it's Euro USD, it looks like we're overstretched. And true, we are overstretched. We are coming back into, multi-year Y curve schematic. And it seems like we just have to start going up. It's crazy. Like you can see the market is crazy. But when I look at times like this, I like to scroll back just a little bit, and because you'll be able to, the beautiful thing about market is you'll be able to see past action, right? Look at this move here. As crazy as it is, the downside is not half of this. That means if the markets could have done this back in 2015, well, it's not impossible to think that it could also do that again now, right? So even though we're looking at this from a technical point of view and we're like, okay, we need to see the push, we need to see some reaction. We might see reaction, we may not see reaction. So why I want to see confirmation is if we start having confirmation, at least on the lower time frame. So this is a weekly trend line. This is not a trend line I draw. This weekly trend line, if we were to break above, now that would probably take several months to happen. But confirmation, at least for us, would look like 4-hour break, and then we could start looking for a push, right? So if we start getting a 4-hour break above, not this line, not this. Okay, I think let me just pull up EURUSD. So yeah, 4-hour break, above this could serve as confirmation, at least, so that we can be a little bit confident. I like to feel confident in my trades to then start looking for bullish push. So if we don't get, let's say the market comes here and we get a rejection, I would actually start looking for selling opportunities to sell this even lower. Okay. Okay, I think somebody has a question. Okay, so Chukwuebuka says, good day, everyone. Please, can you throw more light on how you check the strengths of the currencies? I didn't get well about DXY. Okay, so just quick recap for DXY. I think I can stop the recording for now. Okay, so I'm going to stop the recording now. I would answer your question, sure, but I'll stop the recording now. Remember, you could always go to the YouTube channel to watch the recording. If you're on the YouTube channel, please leave a like and a comment if you wish, and subscribe if you haven't already. Okay, so